The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
Unless John Durham comes out with a report or indictments, unless Bill Barr comes out with some kind of a ruling here, do you think this is resonating on the American people?
Unless Bill Barr indicts these people for crimes, the greatest political crime in the history of our country, then we're going to get little satisfaction unless I win, and we'll just have to go, because I won't forget it. But these people should be indicted. This was the greatest political crime in the history of our country, and that includes Obama, and it includes Biden. These are people that spied in my campaign, and we have everything. Now they say they have much more, okay? And I say, Bill, we got plenty. You don't need any more. We got so much, Maria. Even just take a look at the Comey report, 78 pages of kill, done by Horowitz. And I have a lot of respect for Horowitz, and he said prosecute. He recommended prosecute, and they didn't prosecute. I couldn't believe it, but they didn't do it because they said we have much bigger fish to fry. Well, that's okay. They indicted Flynn for lying, and he didn't lie. They destroyed many lives. Roger Stone over nothing. They destroyed lives. So look at Manafort. They sent in a black book that was a phony black book. Phony. They made up a black book of cash that he got from Ukraine or someplace. And he didn't get any cash. It was a phony book.
Wow. All right. Happy Friday, you bastards. Happy Friday. All right. So here's the thing. It looks like Donald Trump has given up trying to catch Joe Biden in the polls, in the Electoral College, in the states he needs to win. And now his addled mind is concentrating on capturing Biden physically with Obama. And yes, Hillary Clinton. He was screaming, why hasn't she been indicted on the TV yesterday, and throwing them in jail because he can't catch them in the Electoral College. He's going to lose. He's dangerous. He's desperate. He's a wounded animal on roids. He's got roid rage. And yesterday he started his day on Fox Business, which has the three viewers that you are aware of, right? Lou Dobbs, Donald Trump, and Maria Bartiromo, maybe Larry Kudlow, I don't know, maybe four. But he started his day with Maria Bartiromo, and he finished his day on Sean Hannity. Seriously, dude, this is what the President of the United States is busy doing. Screaming about spying and indictments, and there will be no peaceful transition of power because his October surprise is the October surprise from 2016, Hillary's emails. It's very bizarre. It's very bizarre. But on Hannity, he was completely lunatic fringy. And then today, just as I was driving in, I was listening to my old radio station where I used to physically sit, following the fat one, following Rush Limbaugh for years. It's quite gross. But I did it for you. I did it for you, my loyal clients. I did it for you. I did it for America. Anyway, he was on Rush Limbaugh screaming and yelling about indicting Biden, indicting Hillary, indicting Joe Biden, indicting Hunter Biden. And tonight, he's going to finish his day by being interviewed on Tucker Carlson, but not by Tucker Carlson. No, because Tucker Carlson isn't stupid. He just needs his viewers to be, right? And racist. No, he's going to be interviewed by a Fox doctor, Dr. Mark Siegel, who's going to, I don't know, examine him on television. I have no earthly idea. But the real thing that's going on here is Donald Trump is freaking out. People don't know what the Durham report is. You know why? You know why? Because you don't follow conspiracy theories. So here's what the Durham report was supposed to reveal. A year and a half ago, that's how old this investigation is. A year and a half ago, Bill Barr tasked a U.S. attorney in Connecticut named John Durham to investigate the investigators, to investigate Crossfire Hurricane, the opening of a counterintelligence investigation into the Russian hacking that occurred. We got many indictments from Mueller, and of late we found out that Mueller was not allowed to pull the money strings. Mueller was cautioned by the White House that if he gets into, and you remember this, don't you? That if Mueller starts looking at bank accounts, or Mueller starts following the money, or Mueller starts pulling the strings on finances and banking and Deutsche Bank and all that, Mueller will be fired. And they had decided, for whatever reason, they were scared, or they thought that they were doing a counterintelligence investigation, that they didn't have the ability to keep their jobs and do the financial investigation. So it never got done. It never got done. And that's why the follow the money, which is the key to every single criminal investigation, was not pulled by Mueller. That's disappointing. Anyway, so Mueller went about doing a criminal investigation into the hacking itself. And that is what we got in the Mueller report. While he was doing the investigation into the hacking and was able to indict Russian nationals, Russian intelligence services, Russian troll farms, Michael Flynn, Paul Manafort, obviously Roger Stone, right? He brought a whole bunch of indictments on criminal charges, okay? Not on counterintelligence charges, but on criminal charges. And then when he wrote his report, it turned out that he found that the president had lied in his written answers, that the president obstructed justice 10 different ways, 10 different times, and because of the OLC rule that says that a sitting president cannot be indicted, which is just a rule, it's not a law, Mueller decided that he would punt and just outline the obstruction but not charge the president. And that's where the Mueller report began and ended. Well, Donald Trump was furious that the Mueller report was able to indict people. The Mueller report was able to find criminal activity. The Mueller report accused him of obstructing justice, but couldn't charge him. You know, Mueller felt he couldn't charge him. And Donald Trump wanted his pound of flesh. He wanted retribution. So he went to his new Roy Cohn, Bill Barr, who is obsequious to Donald Trump. He kowtows. He literally kneels before Donald Trump for whatever reason, because, you know, Bill Barr likes the unitary executive. He thinks America should have a king. The people are messy, and it's just too cumbersome to try and please the people or try to govern for the people. Just govern for the wealthy and let the king of America do it, right? I think that's his philosophy of governance, and so he efforts that. He actually does things to make that happen. So we know where Bill Barr stands. All right, so Bill Barr was ordered by Donald Trump to order an investigation into the investigators, into the whole Crossfire Hurricane investigation, including Barack Obama himself. That was Obamagate. Well, the Inspector General, Michael Horowitz, at the Department of Justice, wrote his report, and it was released before this Durham report. And the Inspector General concluded that Crossfire Hurricane was predicated on actual evidence of Russian meddling and Donald Trump's acceptance and encouragement of that Russian hacking, of that Russian interference in our 2016 election, and that should have been the end of it. But no, oh no, Barr told a U.S. attorney in Connecticut to write a report to go do another investigation. John Durham has found absolutely nothing. And in fact, the woman that John Durham had worked with for years and years, a U.S. attorney that he loved, she just quit because she said that the political pressure on this investigation was beyond the pale, and it was coming from on high, from the White House, to release an investigation that concluded nothing untoward that the investigators did.
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
We caught him spying on our campaign. This is treason. We caught them trying to take down a duly elected administration/president. We have all the evidence down now. We have to see what the law enforcement's going to do with it. But we caught them spying. As sure as you're sitting there, I assume you're sitting, but as sure as you're sitting there, we caught them spying on our campaign. You know that almost better than anybody. And it's something when you see the New York Times, Washington Post get Pulitzer Prizes, they got everything wrong, right? They got everything wrong. We caught them spying on our campaign. We caught them trying to take down a duly elected president. And then they talk about we want a peaceful transition of power.
Oh, he is deranged. He is dangerous now. He's a wounded animal. And he can't win. He cannot win. So he's going to, instead of catching Biden in the polling, instead of catching Biden in the vote count, instead of catching Biden in the Electoral College, he wants to literally physically capture Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, Hillary Clinton, President Obama. He wants Bill Barr to arrest Joe Biden, Hillary Clinton. I mean, he was so unhinged last night. Here's a little montage of crazy Trump, okay?
So it's been a very interesting journey. I learned a lot about COVID. Now I'm better, and maybe I'm immune. I don't know. But don't let it dominate your lives. I feel great. I feel like perfect. So I think this was a blessing from God that I caught it. This was a blessing in disguise.
These people should be indicted. This was the greatest political crime in the history of our country. And that includes Obama, and it includes Biden.
Well, I'd like to come back to the White House soon to do another interview, Mr. President.
Well,
I'd love to come back to the White House. I saw it up
Hillary
close
Clinton
and
being
personal.
indicted for terminating 33,000 emails that she got from Congress. I figured there would be a chance that I would catch it. Sometimes I'd be in groups of, for instance, Gold Star families. I met with Gold Star families. I didn't want to cancel that. They come within an inch of my face sometimes. They want to hug me and they want to kiss me. And they do. And frankly, I'm not telling them to back up. I'm not doing it. I don't think I'm contagious at all. And this monster that was on stage with Mike Pence, who destroyed her last night, by the way, but this monster... she says, no, there won't be fracking. There won't be this. Everything she said is a lie. I don't believe the polls because we've never had this much support. They have a boat thing. They have 5,000 boats. They have thousands of trucks all over the country.
I took over a depleted military, old equipment, broken equipment. Even in the Army, all brand new uniforms with the belt. Everybody wanted the belt. We're taking care of our seniors. You're not vulnerable, but they like to say the vulnerable, but you're the least vulnerable. But for this one thing, you are vulnerable, and so am I.
They want to take care of certain little tiny fish that aren't doing very well without water, to be honest with you.
The president is, shall we say, in an altered state right now, so I don't know how to answer for his behavior.
The president is in an altered state, okay? There is no question that he is more delusional, more deranged than usual. Now, the Durham report found it's fine. It found one lawyer, just to be completely transparent. There was one lawyer named Klein Smith who was accused of leaving out on a FISA application, the third FISA application, for the continuation of the surveillance of Carter Page, the fact that Carter Page was a contact for the CIA. Now, Klein Smith, this lawyer, a low-level lawyer at the Department of Justice, has pled guilty to leaving out the fact that he knew that Carter Page was a contact for the CIA. Carter Page was the only person that was surveilled. And so that should be the end of that. But now Donald Trump is threatening no peaceful transition of power until he catches and physically catches Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, Hillary Clinton, and Barack Obama and puts them in jail. It's bizarre. It's very, very bizarre. There will be no Durham report for the people who are part of this conspiracy theory. There will be no Durham report. It isn't going to happen. Bill Barr is not going to do that unless Donald Trump says, please, please, pretty please, and, can't say it in public. So don't say it in public, Mr. President. Go grovel in front of Bill Barr. And let's hope that 10 days before the election, Bill Barr makes some ridiculous speech and mischaracterizes the live investigation that Durham is doing. I mean, Donald Trump is literally attacking his own cabinet now. He's attacking Bill Barr and he's attacking Mike Pompeo because they won't nail Hillary Clinton over her emails on television. I don't know. I mean, I half expect that Donald Trump is going to kidnap Hunter Biden and hold Hunter ransom until Joe Biden, drops out of the race so Donald Trump can win. Trump is just as good as coming up with, kidnapping schemes as his followers. You know what happened in Michigan, right? Yesterday, what happened in Michigan. This was bizarre. Everything that's going on now is bizarre. And we're not even 10 days ahead of the election. We're 3 weeks away, 25 days away from the election. Now, you have to remember that we're past the point of the Access Hollywood tape in 2016. That came out on October 7th, right? So we're past that point. The polls are what they are based on Donald Trump's own debate performance, and they're bad. They're very bad. Pennsylvania, it looks like it's going blue. Georgia is in play. South Carolina is a tie for Jamie Harrison and Lindsey Graham. I mean, it's a tie. South freaking Carolina. People are exhausted from this presidency. People are sick from this presidency. People are, watching people die from this president. They're watching this president promise to use the military to send. This drug that he took is not called Regeneron. This drug that the president took was developed by a company called Regeneron. And part of the research involved in creating these cell lines that can be experimented on for the ability to create antibodies to this or that come from aborted fetuses. Now, I don't see him, having a baby about that, right? Sorry. Or Mike Pence objecting to it. But that is the truth. They are just so hypocritical about this. But he said he was going to use the military to bring Regeneron to every... Regeneron is a company, okay? The actual drug doesn't have a name. It doesn't have a name. Anyway, he's deranged. And Nancy Pelosi knows it.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844.
561-270-3844. The Attorney General Bill Barr is telling top Republicans that indictments aren't going to come before the election. This big Durham report that's been out there in the ether that people have been wondering about, when's it going to come? What's it going to mean? And, you just mentioned that the president thinks he has evidence, and the evidence is clear that there was some malfeasance on the Russian investigations, the origins. President may think that. I don't know. What his attorneys think is they don't have enough evidence for prosecutions. Now, that's not to say, and convictions, crucially convictions, that's not to say Durham isn't moving forward. Their goal on this isn't tied to a timeline in terms of the presidential race. They're thinking about how they can win in court. And the president's apparently upset with that. He wants something beforehand. Just real quick, so much of reporting on the Trump White House is listening closely to what he's saying and trying to figure out what set him off. And he calls into Maria Bartiromo, and you can almost go back and do the TikTok and be like, oh, well, clearly he got some news he didn't like on Bill Barr. Clearly he got some news he didn't like on Mike Pompeo. And that's what my colleague Elena Treen did on sort of piecing this together in terms of what set the president off. And it doesn't look like they're going to be indictments. I know Jonathan of the AP always wants to throw it forward, right? When you're at the AP, they're always like, what's the next story? But with Trump, a lot of times you listen to what he says and you go back. And it's pretty clear that there's some sort of change inside the administration.
Yeah, there's no Durham report because there are no indictments, because there's no evidence that would support an indictment. And remember, an indictment, you don't need clear and convincing evidence. You don't need preponderance of the evidence. You don't need beyond a shadow of a doubt or reasonable doubt. No, you just need probable cause. They can't prove probable cause because nothing like what Trump is saying happened. There was no spying. There was no coup. There was no trying to undo a duly elected president. He's just delusional. He's delirious. And he's losing, and he's getting desperate, and he's trying to shake down Bill Barr to come up with some sort of an indictment on Hillary, some sort of an indictment on Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, some sort of an indictment on Barack Obama. And you can't, there's no there. There's no evidence for any of it. His campaign was not spied upon. Donald Trump was not spied upon. Bill Barr is a piece of dung. And the entire, you look at the Washington Bar Association, they've put out letters saying that he needs to, step down. He needs to surrender his law license. I mean, people are just agitated by this attorney general, the chief law enforcement officer in the United States of America. But everybody gets that Donald Trump is only going to get more dangerous and more delusional and more desperate and more out of control in the next 3 weeks. And that includes an army of poll watchers who are going to, one of the things that they are planning, from what I understand, is 50,000 poll watchers loyal to Donald Trump doing mass voting challenges, mass challenges of active voters, registered voters who show up to vote. Massive challenges. Now, on the other side of the equation, Joe Biden also has an army of lawyers going out there to stop any voter intimidation that they see at the polls. But don't let that dampen your interest or your going to vote or your mailing of a ballot or your dropping off of a ballot at a supervisor's office just do it. Because this has to be a blowout or we're going to be stuck with crazy, bat boy. I mean, this is bizarre. Now, obviously, he's still sick. If you listen to any of these interviews he's been doing, and this is all he's doing because, look, he's given up on winning over suburban white women. He's given up on winning over college-educated men. He's given up on the black vote, the Hispanic vote, the Latino vote, whatever you want to call it. He's given up. He's not going to try to appear empathetic about COVID or admit any mistakes he made. He's not going to do it. He's given up on broadening Al-Qaeda, the base. And so instead, he's decided that he's just going to talk to the base all day, every day, on every lunatic fringe show that there is. On every right-wing talk radio show, on every Fox Business show, on every Fox Maine Tucker Carlson show. And I told you, Tucker Carlson just won a case in court, okay? Won a case in court because the lawyers for Tucker Carlson in a defamation suit argued that Tucker Carlson's audience expects that Tucker Carlson is going to lie to them. I swear to God. That was their argument that they made on behalf of Tucker Carlson's defamation. They said, but Tucker Carlson's audience knows Tucker Carlson is lying. And they expect him to lie to them. They like it. They like being lied to. That is the actual argument they made. Now, this is law just stood upon its head because the only defense for defaming somebody used to be that you believed you told the truth about that person, that you did not know that you were lying. They have just decided that there is a second defense for defamation with regard to Fox News's behavior, and that is that their audience knows they're lying, expects that they're going to be lied to, and that they enjoy it that way. This is sick. However, Donald Trump is going He was on Rush Limbaugh the whole afternoon talking about garbage. I mean, crazy, crazy stuff. Now, Rush has been out getting cancer treatments. He came back today to host the president. It's very twisted what's going on here. But there will be no Durham report ahead of the election unless Bill Barr is so disgustingly corrupt that he manufactures a finding that Durham hasn't found or can't prosecute for lack of evidence or can't prosecute for lack of actually doing anything wrong or committing any crime. And Bill Barr just lies. He just tells the American people some garbage 10 days before the election. That's all that could happen. That's all that could happen, but it would make the conspiracy theorists the base. It would put them into a frenzy, okay? And that is what Donald Trump is trying to do by talking to them nonstop, beginning to now. He's definitely not recovered. Last night on Hannity, you could hear him coughing, you could hear him muting the phone, you could hear him out of breath, you could hear him. His voice is very hoarse. He was having trouble. But he told Sean Hannity that he was going to have a rally in Florida tomorrow night. He was going to have a rally here tomorrow night. And then he was going to have a rally in Pennsylvania on Sunday, if he had time to put it together. Well, the White House just announced that Trump is not going to travel this weekend. But instead, he's going to host a White House event with friendlies, so he can get free TV, so he can be on the TV. This is a reality TV star. That is all he is, and he has COVID.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
I thought that wasn't even a contest last night. She was terrible. She was, I don't think you could get worse, and totally unlikable. And she is. She's a communist.
What?
She's left of Bernie.
What?
She's rated left of Bernie by everybody. She's a communist. We're going to have a communist, and she's going to be, in my opinion, within a month. Look, I stood next to Joe, and I looked at Joe. Joe's not lasting 2 months as president. Okay, that's my opinion. Well, he's not going to be lasting 2 months. You know, they all like to say, oh, it was so nice. He took his ads down. He didn't take his ads down. It was all nonsense.
He did.
He never took his ads down.
He did.
No, she's a communist. She's not a socialist. She's well beyond a socialist. Take a look at her views. She wants to open up the borders to allow killers and murderers and rapists to pour into our country.
Okay, and so today he calls Kamala Harris a communist. She was a prosecutor her entire life, a prosecutor of crimes. Okay, and Attorney General of the state of California, the second largest Justice Department in the country, where she took on big banks, where she took on civil rights cases. I mean, it's just she is the only person that has ever prosecuted real crime who is on, the ballot. So, but this is real Roy Cohn stuff. This is what Roy Cohn did. Everybody was a communist. He saw a communist under every single rock. He tainted and smeared people that way. Martin Luther King Jr. was called a communist. Now, why does Donald Trump go further than socialist, which is what he describes Bernie Sanders, who is a democratic socialist? Donald Trump doesn't understand what the difference is between a fascist socialist and a democratic socialist. But, okay, Bernie's not on the ticket. He's not on the top of the ticket. He's not the second on the ticket. He's not on the ticket. But, okay, but he calls Joe Biden a liberal, right? A liberal and a socialist and all this. But why does he reserve going all the way to, Vladimir Putin's communism, Kim Jong-un's communism, for Kamala? It's because he gets to be not just a misogynist, he gets to be a racist too at the same time with Kamala. Instead of, understanding that we love the fact that she's biracial, she identifies as an African American woman, she is married to a Jewish man, she is a prosecutor with a long history of prosecuting crimes, she is a person who, when she prosecutes low-level crimes, comes up with very unique ways to have community service mean something and be redemptive instead of locking people. I don't know. He needs to be a misogynist and a racist at the same time. It's like a double dose of roids for him to do this to her. But he's so completely out of control. So completely out of control that I'm going to play you one more because this one really, I mean, I'm listening to this. I'm in another room. You know, I don't watch this crap. But Howard does. He loves it. He loves hate watching. He loves doom scrolling. He's all about that, you know. It's like he's one of those guys that, you know, the first thing when you wake up in the morning, he'll say Trump tweeted and blah, or he attacked this or he attacked. That's how he loves it. He loves it. But this, to me, was the most unhinged I'd ever heard Donald Trump last night. And because Howard's got it on in the other room, okay? I'm in my office, and Howard's watching TV in the great room. That's, you know, TV room. And Donald Trump goes on this rant about babies, the preciousness of life, and then segues right into guns, you know, killing machines, right? Babies, guns, cops, and suburbs. Babies, guns, cops. It was such a weirdly disconnected, unbelievably illustrative rant to show that the president is addled, that he is incompetent and incapable of executing his duties.
Pro-life groups are they're en masse. They're en masse. This is their one shot because what's going on is so bad, is so evil. The governor of Virginia said we will execute the baby after the baby is born. That's when, you know, you talk about late-term abortion. This is early-term execution, and it's a very, very bad thing. But you don't ever hear anybody talking about pro-life, pro-choice with Biden. Did you ever hear it? I haven't heard it. Very rarely do you hear it. I don't think you'd know how to discuss it. But very importantly, a Second Amendment, though. They just don't discuss the Second Amendment. He's going to take your guns away. So everybody with a gun, you can't vote for him because you're not going to have your gun. At the same time, they want to defund the police. So you're not going to have police protection. And, by the way, you can't have a gun. So when one of these maniacs breaks into your house at night because there are no cops around, you don't have a gun to protect yourself. That's a great combination. And the suburbs are going to fall. You know, a lot of people talk about the women of the suburbs, right? Women of the suburbs, they do or don't like Trump. I don't know. But what I've done is incredible for the suburbs. The suburbs are over, as you know. The suburbs will become more unsafe than the cities.
I mean, he's a lunatic at this point, okay? This is roid rage. He is incapable of executing the duties that he needs to execute as the president of the United States. Now, I needed to show you that because this is what Congress hears. This is what everybody hears. The Republicans are hearing it. Oh, by the way, I got to tell you this. Mike Pence was supposed to travel today. He was supposed to travel today to Indiana to vote, to make a show of it. And they canceled his travel schedule today. Now, he does have a travel schedule so far for the weekend. Now, when you look at Mike Pence from the debate the other night, never mind that he was Lord of the Flies, which is the mark of the beast, as you know, but that he was not looking good, okay? He didn't look well. And that we know Donald Trump has COVID. And the two of them don't look well. And the two of them don't sound well. And the two of them... and they're both canceling their travel plans. You can conclude one of two things. Now, I know immediately most people are going to say that's because Mike Pence has COVID. Well, we can't say that because there's no evidence that Mike Pence has COVID. He keeps telling us that he's tested negative repeatedly. So we can't say that that's the reason for the travel schedule being canceled today. And, you know, this is not a high exertion activity to get on a plane, go home to Indiana, cast your vote, get back on a plane, go back to Washington. But he did cancel it. You know, it seems to me that the reason might be, and I always tell you when I'm speculating, because I am, that they're afraid for Mike Pence to be outside of Washington because the president of the United States is in an altered state. And they need Mike Pence close by because he's the number 2. Neither of the reasons are good. But I will tell you that if Donald Trump and Mike Pence are sick, Nancy Pelosi becomes the president in their absence. And I just don't think that there is anything that this administration would allow public that would cause Nancy Pelosi to take over. It's beyond belief that they would be transparent about both of them being sick, if that's the case, or the president being so altered that Pence has to stay close to Washington. I will tell you that today, Congress, Jamie Raskin from Maryland, who has brought a bill to the floor before. I don't know if you remember this or not, but in 2017, Jamie Raskin brought a bill to the floor that said that Congress ought to have a say in whether or not the president is or is not competent to serve, because the 25th Amendment simply relies on Donald Trump's own cabinet members to make that call. And Jamie Raskin was very aware that people were leaving in droves. Donald Trump was firing people endlessly, that the people in his cabinet, some of them were being put in there as acting with no Senate confirmation, etc. And so in 2017, Jamie Raskin introduced a piece of legislation that pointed out that the president of the United States could always dismiss his cabinet if they were about to act upon the 25th Amendment, and he would. So therefore, Congress should have a role. That went nowhere in 2017. Jamie Raskin reintroduced a role for Congress, and this time Nancy Pelosi is endorsing this piece of legislation. Now, Donald Trump is screaming, she's doing a coup, she's doing a coup. I want you to know right up front that that piece of legislation would be for future presidents. It would not apply to Donald Trump, nor does it have a prayer of passing.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Believe it.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
If a president, and this is, not with bad intention, if a president becomes incapacitated by stroke or ventilation, whatever it happens to be, that he would not have the ability, as Ronald Reagan had, as President George Herbert Walker Bush had, as President George W. Bush had, to make a judgment for this period of time, I transfer the power. So this sets up a formula. It's not for any of us to decide that. It's about a process to decide it. And as the distinguished gentleman said, without the vice president is crucial to this.
Okay, so that's just a quick summary of what the House is proposing we do about another president, not this president, another president, okay? Somebody who refuses or is so addled in the brain or is incapable of knowing that they've gone back crap crazy or that they're in the middle of a roid rage. She's proposing a congressional panel be created for future presidents in situations as chaotic as this one. What she's calling for is a commission of 17 people, 8 appointed by Republicans, 8 appointed by Democrats, and a chairperson selected by the entire body, which would be completely bipartisan. And that commission could study the health of a president and also be able to request an examination of the president. And if the president refused, it would give the authority to this commission to make a judgment on the president's ability to execute his duties based on the information they already had. They could not complete the removal of the president if the commission found, if all these, 8 Republicans and 8 Democrats and a chair chosen by all of them, if they decided that a president needed to step down or transfer power to his vice president, her vice president, the vice president in this particular commission would have to cast a vote to do so. That is what they're proposing. Donald Trump is calling that a coup on him. Truly, this would be for future presidents. It would have nothing to do with him. And obviously, the vice president would have to become involved in it as well. That's why I bring up Mike Pence, not for this particular situation. It's just the need for a commission is so great under Donald Trump. We haven't had one. We don't have one. Under the 25th Amendment, we're entitled to have one. And the reason that Jamie Raskin put forward, and he is a constitutional, he's a geek, okay? He's really good at this stuff. He understands. He's a constitutional scholar. And the reason why Jamie Raskin introduced a bill like this back in 2017 for this situation is because it was so chaotic in 2017. And he understood that the Constitution allows for Congress to play a role, that Congress could, remove a president under the 25th Amendment. It's Section 4 for all you dweeby people out there that think you've read the Constitution and you understand it. It's Section 4 of the 25th Amendment, and it says that if a majority of a body established by law, that would be Congress, along with the vice president, that would be the vice president, declare in writing that if a president is disabled or unable to do his job, the vice president immediately becomes the acting president. That is what they are trying to get written. That is what they're trying to establish.
This is why we need to set up an institution composed on a bipartisan fashion, in bicameral fashion, that will be able to make judgments, whether it is 5 months from now, 5 years from now, 50 years from now, whatever it might be. We're living in an age of a lot of chaos. I want to say I appreciate what the speaker has to go through on a daily basis, dealing with the chaos of politics, which has been made especially intense recently. And I appreciate her seeing that we need to create some constitutional and institutional foundations for dealing with the chaos. And our forebears who wrote the 25th Amendment gave us the tools that we need to deal with these kinds of crises.
They did. You know why? Because they understood that the president of the United States could be so lunatic, out of control that he could fire his cabinet, preventing the cabinet from exercising the 25th Amendment. So they put in there that a body duly elected by law, which would be Congress, has the ability to intervene as well, as long as the vice president of the United States puts it in writing that the president can't execute the duties of his office. Can't do it. Can't have it. So there's nothing unique about this except that we have to actually know it.
Clearly, he is under medication. Any of us who is under medication of that seriousness is in an altered state. He has bragged about the medication that he has taken. And again, there are articles by medical professionals saying this could, as I said earlier, could have an impact on judgment.
On judgment. Could have an impact on judgment. This massive amount of dexamethasone, and remember, everybody, you can't spell dexamethasone without the meth, is rendering this president stable, incoherent, a ranting, dangerous, lunatic, fringy dude. That is a fact. That is what has happened to this president. Last night, when he was on Sean Hannity, he was threatening, I swear to God, to arrest or prosecute or somehow interfere in the election in New Mexico and Nevada, saying the governor of Nevada is a con man, the governor of New Mexico is a cheat.
These are con men. These are cheaters that we're dealing with in Nevada. They don't want to have any signature on the ballots. He's a real beauty. You know, he comes out of the political party. He got to be governor. You can't even get a site. If you want to make a speech in Nevada, you can't even get a site. I got a site because I'm president, but you can't even get a site. It's very hard to get a political site to make a speech for, to have thousands of people show up. They have them all over the place. But, you know, he makes it so that it's very difficult. Anybody else can't get a site. And he's in charge of the ballots. And there's bad things happening out there. Now, we have law enforcement watching him very strong. U.S. Attorney is watching him very strongly. The U.S. Marshal is watching. In New Mexico, a state that I think we can win, we have the U.S. Marshal and the U.S. Attorney watching him. So it's not easy for them because we got people watching nobody ever had. But it's a corrupt system. Wow. Because they're sending out millions of ballots. Now, when you send out millions of ballots, when you're the sender, you can send them wherever you want. You can send them to Democrat areas, Republican areas. You don't have to send them at all. Mailmen are being, as you know, indicted. One was indicted yesterday in New Jersey. Another one was indicted in West Virginia. Mailmen. Ballots are being found in riverbeds. They dumped a hole. They call it a tray. A tray is a lot of ballots. I don't know how many, but it's a lot. They found trays of ballots in the river.
Okay, the news anchor is saying, wow, because she's not heard of it, because it didn't happen. A New Jersey mailman, a 26-year-old mailman, was arrested for not delivering any mail. He just decided not to deliver the mail, so he was arrested for delay of the mail. The guy is in so much trouble. He just decided not to deliver the mail. There were like 600 pieces of mail. Most of them were, you know, the corporate stuff that you get, all these coupons and stuff. He just said, no, I don't want to deliver.
It's Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
And the plan isn't for the president to say that he's a perfect physical specimen. Did he say specimen? Maybe I could agree with that. And young. He said he was young. His disassociation from reality would be funny if it weren't so deadly. And his people, these enablers around who are enabling death, the death toll to rise. We have to shed a bright light on what has been possible for months that they chose to ignore because of their contempt for Congress and their disdain for governance. And so that's why, if there's one thing that has to be in this bill that he has never made as a priority, it's crushing the virus instead of the denial, delay, distortion, lack of reality that the president has all along brought to this.
I mean, she sounds more angry than I've ever heard her sound. Nancy Pelosi is not one that gives in to anger. She usually is a person of action. She's more of a solutions-oriented type than a vengeance is mine type. Donald Trump is a vengeance is mine, you know, and with Donald Trump, it's always going to be a guy named Brad. Go watch Pulp Fiction. You'll know what I mean. It's always a guy named Brad, and vengeance is always mine, said the Lord, right? So that's Donald Trump. Nancy is more about, we need to solve this problem. We need a plan. We need a plan to kill this virus. We need a plan to support people while they're participating in the crushing of the COVID epidemic, the pandemic. We have 25.5 million people receiving unemployment today. The jobs report came out and it was worse than expected. The economy shed another 849,000 jobs almost 1 million jobs, and it's been shedding almost 1 million jobs month after month after month after month after month. The president is very busy tweeting, ridiculous, and he's changing his mind on a dime. Like no more stimulus negotiation. I want more stimulus negotiation. I'm ready to sign. Where's Crazy Nancy? Projection, obviously. And then today on Rush Limbaugh's show, he said, the reason why I wanted to stop the negotiation, because I want to do more than Nancy Pelosi wants to do. I want to do more than the Senate wants to do. I want to do... Now, the House put a $3.4 trillion relief package up. Mitch McConnell rejected it and said, absolutely not. The president of the United States was not down with $3.4 trillion. And got to negotiate down. Said, the president's not been in any of these negotiations. He sent Steve Mnuchin to do the negotiation. The president's been AWOL, not in the room. And then ordered Mnuchin to cease and desist any talks with Pelosi by tweet, copied his chief of staff, Mark Meadows. Who does that? Mark Meadows and Steve Mnuchin are supposed to be in these negotiations. Anyway, then he does a 180 and says, no, I'm ready to send out $1,200 checks right now. And then today on Rush Limbaugh's show, because he's so compromised, no, I want to do a bigger package than $3.4 trillion. I want to do a bigger... We are up Craps Creek here. 25, almost 26 million people are on unemployment. Those are all the ones we know about. All right, Jeff, I don't know where you are. Where are you?
Portland.
Oh, Portland. Oh, hi.
First time line? So I'm your neighbor in Costa Rica.
What do you mean you're my neighbor?
I have a house down there.
Where?
I've lived in Dominicalito. You don't need to divulge where, but Dominicalito, up in the mountain.
Oh, you're up the mountain?
Yeah, it's like a 15-minute walk each. But we've been there since 2000. And I know Shelby. Shelby.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Oh, I love their food. Their food's unbelievable. She's from Canada, and
yep.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah. Yeah,
they're both sweethearts, and they speak highly of you and Howard. I was like, do you know them?
Oh yeah, we know them.
And they were like, oh, you haven't seen them in a while, but
because we're not allowed to go.
Exactly. This is the first time, and we've been down there since 2000. Built the house in 2003, and this is the first time
that you can't go. I know.
We can't go.
I know. So. Me too. And just so you know, I had to replace a roof during this.
Right.
Yeah, and I also had a, the septic system backed up, and it was full of, how it gets full of palm tree roots because we live in a freaking rainforest, right? And so they pulled out all the roots and they took pictures because and they send them to me on WhatsApp. It looked like a giant freaking root snake. This thing was huge that they pulled out. So we're trying to, keep the house in good repair, but we can't go. It's just so bizarre.
Well, and it's classic because, you got to be on top of everything down there and not being able to, not around. It's like, yeah, you're not going to get it done.
Oh, no.
You're lucky if you do, but...
Really? I mean, it's just, it's not the easiest thing in the world.
Strange times.
Yeah.
Strange times.
Yeah.
So, basically, I just calling in. I just wanted to...
You don't know me. You know me through other people, is what you're saying, right?
I know. Well, I've known you through the radio since the Air America days.
Oh, okay, okay.
But, when I was listening to you throughout the years, you started talking about it. I'm like, no way, I wonder where she's at. And then I emailed you, I think it was a year or two ago, and you emailed back.
I always email back. I'm like that.
I know. I was surprised. I'm like, oh, my God, she's a real person.
Yeah, I'm a real person, just like yourself.
But
if you talk to Shelby and Joe, tell them I miss them so incredibly much, and to please save me some gluten-free stuff.
I will. But, we were talking about going back down there in December, but I don't think it's going to happen. I don't want to get on an airplane yet.
So
I'm not ready.
So Florida is like the last state that they will let in there. You know, you can go from your state, you can go from New York, you can go from New Jersey, Connecticut, a whole bunch of states. But not Florida. Oh, no, because they're not stupid. They understand that we have Ron death sentence as our governor. So, But I'm hoping that with a COVID negative test in December that I can go and just check on the house.
And you'll have to get travel insurance, another requirement they're doing.
Yes, you have to have international travel insurance, right. Anyway.
Well, I just wanted to say hi, and weird times, and basically I was calling in, other than to say hi, was about reading an article on Raw Story, and it was about his interview with Rush Limbaugh, and it was talking about Bill Barr not releasing the
Durham report.
The report until after the 3rd.
It's not happening.
There's just at 1:30, there's on the radio interview, it's absolutely hilarious. He's just talking about how he's got to beat everything off. I had to beat that off. I had to beat this off. I got to beat that off. And my inner child just was chuckling.
I see. Yes. I get it. What could the boys be talking about now while they sit in a circle? What could they be talking about? Yeah, I get it.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
And then there's this.
13 men stand accused of a domestic terrorist plot to overthrow state governments. Some of the suspects CNN found online ranting against the government. One saying,
by you participating in the government, you are participating in slavery, dude.
The FBI says Michigan was to be ground zero.
Through confidential sources, undercover agents, and clandestine recordings, law enforcement learned particular individuals were planning to kidnap the governor.
Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer has drawn angry reactions from armed groups opposed to her restrictions to slow the spread of the coronavirus. And investigators say those measures may be why the men targeted Whitmer, wanting to try her for treason.
Oh, my God.
According to the complaint, the suspects did surveillance on her vacation home and talked of blowing up a bridge to divert police if they attacked that location. The complaint also indicates suspect Adam Fox was leading the charge and was recorded saying, "Grab the effing governor, just grab the B," because at that point, we do that, dude, it's over.
The complaint further alleges that Fox purchased a taser for use in the kidnapping and that the group successfully detonated an improvised explosive device wrapped with shrapnel to test its anti-personnel capabilities.
The federal government charged 6 men with conspiracy to kidnap Whitmer. The state charged 7 others with firearm and terror charges.
I knew this job would be hard, but I'll be honest, I never could have imagined anything like this.
But in April, national security officials warned that extremist groups are exploiting the coronavirus pandemic to incite violence and bolster racist and anti-government narratives. In this case, authorities said men associated with an anti-government group called the Wolverine Watchmen were involved in the alleged kidnap plot. A law enforcement source also telling CNN authorities believe some of the suspects support the extremist Boogaloo movement.
The Boogaloo movement is a loosely affiliated network of individuals and groups that actively believe in the prospect and want to expedite violent unrest in the streets, what we might describe as civil war.
Yeah, the Boogaloo Boys are... this is who Donald Trump is talking to when he talks to, these Proud Boys, Boogaloo Boys, 3%ers, Wolverine Watchmen, Oath Keepers, all these right-wing lunatics, separatist, fringy people who believe that, the hinterlands are theirs and they should rule, and that any support for our government is tantamount to slavery. Therefore, we have to create a civil war so that society itself will collapse. That is what they are all about. And they're white supremacists on top of it. They're misogynists on top of that. Incels, involuntary celibates are part of this whole mishmash of, let's just say not Mensa candidates who think that they want to look more like Somalia than America, which is a nation of laws. So yesterday you had 7 charged with state crimes, carrying penalties of up to 20 years in prison, and you had another 6 charged with federal crimes, which could bring them life in prison. Sarah Seidner, who usually covers the racist beat, believe it or not, there is such a thing, for CNN. She's an incredible reporter. She sat down and she talked to a neo-Nazi guy who is trying to send the signal that it's on. It's on. This is happening.
Frank Mink, a former neo-Nazi who went to prison in the 90s for kidnapping a member of a leftist group, says these kinds of plots are being hatched more now than ever. I spoke with him days before the kidnap plot was known to the public.
What's the scenario in this election that would create what you're calling the potential of a race war?
I'm telling you, this is going to happen. States like Michigan, states like Wisconsin, the northern states that have some wilderness area, there have been militias from other states training up there. They are waiting and hoping that something does go wrong because they want to hold up in them hills and they want to say, we don't want the federal government up here no more. We don't want to let black people or anybody else, like this is going to be our homeland.
He says President Trump's rhetoric has emboldened extremists. Governor Whitmer said the same, mentioning the president's words to a far-right group during the debate.
Stand back and stand by. Hate groups heard the president's words not as a rebuke, but as a rallying cry, as a call to action.
And of course, the Trump administration gets on the radio today and says they're not racist and they don't support racist white supremacist groups and they don't support these anti-government groups. He's pissed off at Chris Wray. The president is, for saying that the biggest threat that America faces with regard to terrorism and lethal attacks comes from these militias, these white supremacist groups, these anti-government groups, these boogaloo boys, these incels, these crazy, armed lunatics who hole up in, hinterlands somewhere and drill and practice and do firearms training. And they think that listen, you want to do that, join the military like I did. They'll let you do it. They'll teach you the right way to do it. Just do it. But you can't do it on your own. And you can't plan to overthrow your government. That's called treason, okay? And if you kill somebody, or if you wound somebody, or if you shoot somebody, or if you maim somebody, that's a crime. And you're going to go to prison. This plot was further along than you might think.
There were 13 people charged overall, 6 federally, 7 by the state. And it wasn't just a plot against the governor. They attempted to identify home addresses of law enforcement officers and it intended to instigate civil war. Do you expect more people could be charged in this case?
Well, let's just say this. The state and the federal authorities have been working together. We have a task force, and there are a lot of groups that we've been looking at, and a lot of individuals we've been looking at. So when you ask if we can expect further charges, I don't know that they will be associated necessarily with this particular group, but certainly do I expect further charges related to this series of groups that seem to be operating together, not just in the state of Michigan, but across several states and many jurisdictions. Yes, I do.
They're on you. They're all over you. They're ready for you. Nobody thinks you're sane, and nobody thinks you're Mensa candidates, and nobody thinks that you're innocent, and nobody wants civil war in this country. We like our society. We have to improve it. We get that. We understand that, America is an experiment, and that, as we move forward, we pray that the arc bends towards justice and away from you. But stop being douchey. Stop depriving everyone of their ability and liberty and freedom and civil rights, because you won't get away with it. They have been investigating this since early this year. This is just one plot that President Trump literally encouraged, if not gave a go for it, an attaboy to, when he tweeted, "Liberate Michigan." the protesters that were at that, Lansing with the arms and all that, they were part of this group too. So more to come, everybody. More to come from the lunatic right-wing fringe that the president's fueling.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
All right, let's talk. Let's talk amongst ourselves, everybody. Ed in Chicago, are you there?
Yes, ma'am. How you doing?
Hi, Ed.
Good to talk to you again. I talked to you a couple of weeks ago. I had a bad phone reception.
How could you forget that baritone? You can't.
Oh, we love you here in Chicago, Randi.
Thank you. You know, I've never been there. Isn't that crazy?
No.
Never.
Wait. You've been to Mississippi. You've been to Texas. You've been to all these places. You've never been to the Chi?
Isn't that something? I know. Howard can't believe it either. Howard cannot believe it. I know.
Wow. You will love it. You will love it.
Yeah, it's gorgeous from what I see. I mean, it's just beautiful.
Yeah, it is. Randi, I'm much more encouraged than I was the last time I talked to you. Because this maniac he's slipping. He's more than slipping. He's going down the drain big time.
He's tripping on roids. That's what he's doing. I mean, the man is tripping, literally tripping. I don't know what other word to use, but if you've ever taken steroids, or if you've ever taken acid, or if you've ever done meth, or you snorted, shooting, whatever, God help you. But that's his brain right now.
Wow.
So the egg in the pan is your brain on drugs. Trump in the White House is America being led by a meth freak.
Wow. Well, listen, two things right quick. Number one, I'm armed with Randi, especially when I go to my job. And one guy who's a straight up Trump supporter, Republican. It's been so many dumb things and horrible things that Trump has been doing. He has no more excuse for him. He said, look, man, I don't want to do. All I need is a hug. I gave a Republican a hug, Randi.
Yeah, I know. I'm ready. I tell them now, come nestle in my armpit. I will accept you. I will love you. Just promise me, if you cannot make yourself vote for Joe Biden, just don't vote.
Big time. And the last thing, Randi, is you broke news the other day about almost 123 people in the Capitol complex.
Yeah.
Where can I find that? I need to pull that up. How can I get my hands on that info?
Oh, Roll Call Magazine.
Roll Call Magazine.
Yeah,
I've heard you talk about that before.
The author, if you Google 123 COVID Capitol with an O, Capitol spelled with an O, you'll find an article by Chris Marquette.
Chris Marquette?
Yes.
Okay, I'm writing that down.
Yeah, and you'll get the article. It's in Roll Call Magazine by Chris Marquette.
Okay. Randy, I love you forever. Back at you.
Go Bears. Go Bears. Go Bears.
Go Bears.
Oh, my God.
We are 4-1, baby.
I was telling
don't know how the heck we got there.
We haven't been 4-1 since I think I was 21 years old, Ed. I mean, we're a little excited over here.
You have no idea how unbelievably over the moon Brett is. He's a Bears fan. He's a real Bears fan. He's turned me into one because I can't be for the Dolphins anymore. I mean, it used to be you watch the Dolphins and you got 3 good quarters and you kind of knew they were going to lose in the 4th, but at least you got 3 good quarters of football. Now it's so fast. It's so fast they lose like in the first 4 plays. So you just can't. So right.
We're taking applications, Randy. Come on aboard.
So,
you look good in blue and orange, Randy.
Yeah, no. So now I'm in with the Bears with Brett. I'm totally in. It's Yankees now and Bears is where I'm at. Yeah.
Hey, I love you guys. Thank you.
Love you. Go Bears. The Bears. So we got this quarterback that beat Tom Brady. Who's my guy?
Nick Foles is the sensational quarterback for the Chicago Bears this season.
I'm trying to be I'm going to get run over by the, the bandwagon as I jump on. But I'm jumping.
Plenty of room. Come on aboard.
Just don't run me over as I reach for the bandwagon to pull myself up. But yeah, it's Bears and Yankees right now. That's where I'm at. All right, Keno in Florida.
Hello, Randy.
Hello, Keno.
I was going to call in and talk about the 25th Amendment. I'm part of a group. We've been lobbying Jamie Raskin. We're called the Moose Herder Coalition. We're a bipartisan group. We're for Biden. on Google, people can look up the Moose Herder Agenda and on Google. And did you say something?
No.
Okay. Well, all right. People can look up on Google Moose Herder Agenda. We're a bipartisan group for Biden, and we have 5 humane goals we want to go for: humane capitalism, humane law enforcement, humane healthcare system, humane technology, and humane agriculture. And we want Joe Biden to adopt that. And we want all the Congress, and I'm lobbying Congress, I'm lobbying Republicans to join in with Raskin for that. We called it the 2541B plan because it's Section 4, Paragraph 1, Option B. The A option is the Vice President and the Cabinet. The B option is Congress puts as a body, which could put the 4 living past presidents on that commission as sort of a jury of peers.
You're exactly right.
The old rogue elephant that, and if 3 Republicans, Marco Rubio and Mitt Romney and Ben Sasse, and I'm lobbying them, I'm calling their office and telling them, join with the 2 women lionesses, Murkowski and Collins, and they can form a pride of Republican lions if those 3 males will grow some manes and join with the 2 Murkowski and Collins, and they can take down the old 6 rogue elephant. Nice. What do you say, Randy?
Nicely done. Yes, I'm with you.
Okay, well, the 5 humane goals. Can you emphasize we got to get Joe Biden to humane capitalism like they have in the Nordic countries with referees?
Yeah.
Instead of businesses, they want to unfetter the business so it can come predatory. Capitalism that's predatory, the healthcare system that's predatory, the police that are predatory. But we got to have a humane law enforcement. We got to have humane capitalism, a humane healthcare system. So the Moose Herder Coalition is going to bring things, and we got to get this commission set up real quick in case, as Donald Trump is going crazier and crazier, we got to get that set up real quick, and Republicans will join too when Donald Trump keeps showing how crazy he is.
I applaud you. Thank you. Well done. Really. Well done. Those are good goals. I am all for those goals, and if it's bipartisan, even better. Even better. I have to look it up. I'm not endorsing that site because I haven't looked at it. I never heard of it before. But the goals that you just stated and the 25th Amendment Plan B Commission is something we actually have to do. Because, again, remember, a addled president, a corrupt president, a president who isn't aware of his own madness could fire his cabinet, which is Plan A in the 25th Amendment, right? And so Plan B in the 25th Amendment, the 4th paragraph, if you want to look it up, literally says that any body that's been established by law, and Congress obviously is one of those, can have a commission, can actually have a say in whether or not the president is able to carry out the duties of his office. Clearly, this man is incapable. Clearly, he's been changing his mind on a dime. Clearly, he's in the middle of roid rage. Clearly, we have basically a meth head who likes it. He's not even like going, oh, well, I wish I could get help and get off the. No, he likes it. In charge of our country, in charge of our nuclear arsenal, in charge of our health care. I mean, he told Rush Limbaugh today, this is really sick, because Rush was asking questions from the audience, and some woman, he said the number one issue, this is what Fat Boy said to the president, 2 fat boys. He said, Mr. President, the number one issue is health care. I'm going to read you an email from one of our listeners. And this listener said, well, what about pre-existing conditions? Are you about maintaining legislation in place that will protect people who have, and Donald Trump just went, I want to develop a health care plan. He admits he doesn't have a plan for health care. All he said was he wants to go to court and he wants to get rid of Obamacare. He has to get rid of it, and then he wants to come up. Now, this is a man who said about 6 weeks ago, 10 weeks ago, a year ago, 3 years ago, we were going to get cheaper, better health care. He's got a plan. Well, it's been 4 freaking years. He doesn't have a plan. He doesn't have any idea how to do health care, let alone having somebody who does create a plan that he could show the people. This is all bullcrap, okay? It's all junk. Meanwhile, we are literally dying. We have over 214,000 dead people today. I mean, listen, just in the past week, we're losing 1,000 people a day. Right about 1,000 people a day. It's so sad. Oh, I'm going to use the military. I'm going to send Regeneron. What, you're going to send the company, Regeneron? He doesn't even know that Regeneron is a company. It is not a drug. The drug he took does not have a name because it's still in small clinical trials, okay? It doesn't have a name. And then they gave him a massive dose of steroids, which, by the way, is usually reserved for people on ventilators in drug-induced comas. I'm all for that. That's all I'll say. Stop laughing. That's all I'll say. But listen, you have a good weekend. If you're voting by mail, do me a favor. Fill it out, drop it off. Drop it off yourself. See you Monday.